Hi, I'm Jim Snider, part of the board of directors for Metabolic Elite. Today, we're going to discuss how to bucket your recovery methods and modalities based on what the dominant player load structure is. So there's different ways to look at player load. Everybody has different technologies that they use, but looking at it from either in a mechanical standpoint or external loading standpoint, which would be more your GPS, accelerometry type of devices, versus your physiological, internal, or heart rate cardiovascular type dominance. So depending on how you measure player load, hopefully you're looking at player load on both of these strategies, both GPS and heart rate, because again, it's going to tell you two different things that are going on within the body. Typically, the simplified way I like to explain it is, this is going to be more your suspension of the car. This is going to be more of the engine of the car, okay? So first off, when we're measuring it, obviously we're measuring mechanical via external means, okay? So it's going to be, like I said before, your GPS, your accelerometry devices, things like that. Typically, we're going to weight the mechanical side on the higher amount of decel exertions. So when we break it down, depending on what you're using to measure, you can look at how I like to look at it is, if there's 60% greater decels versus 40 XLs, then it's going to be a higher mechanical advantage. We know that with the dominant decels, there's going to be much more eccentric damage going on within the structure. And again, more cutting, more CODs, more change of directions, more damage to the structural part, the joints, etc. So how are we going to look at it from a recovery standpoint? We're going to prioritize more longer cold exposure. Okay, so they might sit in the cold tub 5, 10, 15 minutes, working your way up to that. Again, because that is going to reduce joint inflammation, more structural inflammation. So we're trying to reduce structural inflammation at this point in time, because we've deemed that our mechanical bucket is highest priority for how we try to prioritize our recovery methods. Again, you can also use longer duration isometrics. Why? Because we're looking more mechanical. There's going to be more stress on the structure, i.e. the tendons. Obviously, there's plenty of research out there on tendons, so we might utilize a little bit more longer durations, again, to help with the recovery mechanisms from a mechanical standpoint. And then soft tissue. Okay, how we're going to prioritize our soft tissue on the mechanical side is, we're going to look more at the muscular junctions. Again, that's going to be where there's going to be more stress taking place because of the eccentric changes of directions and contractions going on. So the junctions we're going to specifically look at more for the lower body. You can look at any of them depending on what your dominant sport is. We're going to look more like the soleus gastroc for team sports, field-based sports that are cutting, changing directions. Obviously the quad tendon, which is a major decelerator in sports. And then also the glute ham insertion junction point. So the soft tissue therapists or manual therapists are going to spend more time in those areas. And then from a dietary intervention standpoint, we're going to increase healthier fats. We're going to look more on the anti-inflammatory side of things naturally. Obviously, TetraCure, one of our products, is a extremely effective product to help with people to recover from the mechanical external side of things, if that is the bucket that's high. Vice versa, there could be a higher bucket on the physiological side of things, looking more, obviously, like I said, heart rate. And how do we determine that? Well, we can look at total trimp load versus player load, or we can look at trimp per minute, however you look at it. Again, just making sure to look and to see which one is your dominant one, so that way you know, again, where to have a more focused approach to implementing your recovery strategies. Again, if it's more physiological based, we're going to make a broad statement here and say it's going to be a little bit more muscular based. All right. So our recovery modalities are going to be more looking to move byproduct and more on the muscular level of things versus the structural level of things. So we may do some aerobic flush, tempo type training, however you want to do it, steady state, mobility circuits, moving around, obviously stretching, making it so there's a little bit more of a peripheral heart action within the cardiovascular system, again, to increase the physiological flushing of the body. We're also going to use preferential sauna here, more for a durational aspect there. Again, we know there's plenty of research on sauna, what it does to the cardiovascular system. Okay, heart adaptations. Again, those are the areas that we're trying to go after if the physiological side is deemed their highest loading bucket. Also, we might use more hot-cold contrast, a bit more of a one-to-one format. again, to create the pumping effect through the capillaries and allowing the body to recover that way, because again, we're going more towards the muscular effect. Normatec, if you utilize that, it's a very good strategy for this bucket. Again, huge for tissue and muscle recovery and flushing. From a soft tissue standpoint, we're just going to change the methods a little bit now, because we've determined, again, in this bucket, we're going to use more effleurage, or encourage our therapists to use more manual work for effleurage, more flushing, more pushing the muscle and the fluid, the lymph towards the midline of the body to increase recovery that way. And then from a dietary standpoint, preferential a little more higher on the antioxidants. We may bump up cherry juice, encourage alkaline foods. And if you're brave, you can even maybe dose in a little bit of low dose sodium bicarb. So again, hopefully this helps you on how to prioritize your recovery methods. And again, we'll be back soon with some more stuff for you guys as we go along. Thank you.